A McDonald's restaurant can bring in around $4 million a year in sales and still leave its owner with far less money than people imagine. That is the strange reality behind one of the most famous businesses on earth. From the outside, a busy McDonald's looks like a money machine. The drive-thru is full. The delivery orders keep coming. The restaurant sells breakfast, lunch, dinner, coffee, fries, desserts, and late-night meals almost every day of the year. But sales are not profit. A restaurant making $4 million in revenue does not hand $4 million to its owner. Before the owner earns anything, that money must pay for food, packaging, wages, rent, royalties, advertising, repairs, utilities, taxes, insurance, technology, and often loan payments. So the real question is not, how much does a McDonald's sell? The real question is, after everybody gets paid, how much is left for the person who owns it? To understand that, imagine a buyer named Daniel. Daniel has spent years building a successful local business. He has savings, management experience, and enough assets to be considered for a McDonald's franchise. He sees a restaurant for sale in a growing suburb. The drive-thru is busy. The building is modern. Families visit after school. Office workers stop by at lunch. It looks like the kind of business people dream about owning. But Daniel quickly discovers that buying the franchise is not like buying a small restaurant. A traditional McDonald's franchise can require an investment of roughly $1.47 million to $2.73 million. The exact number depends on the restaurant, equipment, location, renovation needs, and working capital. The initial franchise fee is around $45,000, but that is only one piece of the deal. The largest costs are usually the restaurant equipment, signs, seating, decor, inventory, training, opening expenses, and cash needed to survive the first few months. McDonald's also expects serious financial strength. A prospective franchisee generally needs substantial, non-borrowed personal resources before being considered. That requirement is not just about filtering out people who cannot afford the deal. It exists because the owner must survive fixed costs even when sales are disappointing. Daniel may use some of his own cash and finance the rest, but financing creates another pressure. Every month, before he can think about personal income, the business must make enough money to cover its operating costs and debt payments. This is where the golden arches become less romantic and more mathematical. McDonald's is one of the world's most recognizable brands. Tens of millions of customers visit its restaurants every day. That brand recognition is a huge advantage because Daniel is not opening an unknown burger shop. He does not have to convince people what McDonald's is. He does not need to spend years building trust in the neighborhood. Customers already know the menu. They understand the drive-thru. They recognize the app. They know what a McFlurry is, even if the machine occasionally chooses a personal day. That familiarity creates demand. But McDonald's does not give that demand away for free. The franchisee operates the restaurant, hires the staff, manages daily problems, and takes much of the business risk. In return, McDonald's provides the brand, systems, supply chain, marketing power, training, and often the location itself through a lease arrangement. The franchisee then pays ongoing fees tied to sales. For many traditional restaurants, that includes a service fee of about 5% of gross sales, an advertising contribution of at least 4%, and rent that varies by restaurant and agreement. The important phrase is gross sales. If Daniel's restaurant sells $4 million of food, those percentage-based payments are calculated from the $4 million before he pays employees, food suppliers, electricity bills, or bank loans. That is why McDonald's can be a powerful business and still be a demanding one for the franchisee. Let's make the numbers real. Imagine Daniel's restaurant produces $4 million in annual sales. This is only an illustration, not a promise of performance. Some locations produce much more, some produce much less, and every restaurant has its own cost structure. Out of that $4 million, food and packaging may take a large share. Beef, chicken, buns, potatoes, sauces, cups, bags, napkins, and delivery packaging all cost money. Depending on the menu mix and market conditions, food and packaging might consume roughly 30% of sales. That could be around $1.2 million gone before the restaurant has paid a single employee. Then comes labor. Fast food is not automated in the way people imagine. The kitchen needs crew members. The drive-thru needs people. The front counter needs people. The restaurant needs managers who can run shifts, train staff, control waste, handle complaints, and keep the operation moving. Labor, payroll taxes, benefits, and overtime can take another large portion of sales. In some markets, labor pressure is one of the biggest threats to profit. If wages rise, if workers are hard to find, or if turnover becomes high, the owner can spend more money simply trying to keep the restaurant fully staffed. Now Daniel has paid food and labor, but the restaurant still owes rent, service fees, advertising contributions, utilities, repairs, insurance, cleaning, technology costs, local taxes, maintenance, and debt payments. A fryer breaks. A freezer needs repair. The air conditioning fails during summer. A delivery order goes missing. A manager quits 2 days before a holiday weekend. One problem may be manageable. Several problems at once can erase a large part of the month's profit. After all those costs, a strong restaurant may still produce meaningful cash flow, but the owner's actual income can be dramatically lower than the sales number that impressed everyone at the beginning. For an owner with a well-performing restaurant, good management, controlled costs, and manageable debt, annual cash flow could potentially reach the low to mid 6 figures. In stronger multi-unit operations, the total can be much higher. But that does not mean every owner earns that amount, and it does not mean the money arrives effortlessly. A location with high rent, weak traffic, costly labor, aging equipment, or heavy loan payments can produce much less. A poor year can reduce cash flow quickly, and a buyer who pays too much for a restaurant may spend years working mainly to protect the investment rather than enjoying the returns. That is the first big lesson of McDonald's economics. Revenue creates headlines, but cash flow determines whether the owner actually wins. Daniel learns this when he studies the restaurant he wants to buy. At first, the sales look excellent. The store has earned more than $4 million in the previous year. But then he looks deeper. Labor costs are rising. The restaurant will soon need expensive equipment upgrades. A competitor is opening nearby, and the drive-thru line is slowing down at peak hours because the restaurant does not have enough trained staff. Suddenly, the business looks different. The restaurant is not just a building that sells burgers. It is a chain of small decisions repeated thousands of times a day. A manager who orders too much food creates waste. A manager who orders too little creates delays. A new employee who makes frequent mistakes creates refunds and unhappy customers. A broken drink machine can slow down the entire drive-thru. A 20-second delay during lunch may not sound serious, but multiplied across hundreds of cars, it can cost real sales. The best McDonald's operators are not necessarily the people with the best ideas. They are often the people who reduce small failures before those failures become expensive. That is why the business is not passive income. A passive investor might imagine buying a franchise, hiring a manager, and collecting profits from a distance. But McDonald's is built around operational discipline. The owner may eventually build a strong leadership team and operate more than one restaurant, but that freedom is earned through systems, training, and constant attention. Daniel realizes that his real product is not the burger. His real product is consistency. Customers want their order correct. They want the food hot. They want the drive-thru fast. They want the restaurant clean. They want the app to work. They want the same basic experience every time, especially when they are tired, rushed, traveling, or feeding children after a long day. McDonald's has spent decades turning that predictability into a global habit. That habit is the franchisee's greatest advantage, but it is also the franchisee's responsibility to protect it. The brand can bring customers to the parking lot. It cannot personally make sure the shift is staffed properly at 7:30 in the morning. It cannot stop an employee from calling in sick. It cannot prevent a local road project from blocking the entrance. It cannot make every customer patient when the drive-thru line gets long. The owner must solve those problems. And some problems are outside the owner's control. Food prices can rise, wages can rise, interest rates can rise, local regulations can change. A new competitor can open across the street. A weak economy can make customers more sensitive to price. A health scare or food safety issue can affect public trust across the entire system. This is why location matters so much. Two McDonald's restaurants may have the same logo, similar menus, and nearly identical buildings, but one may sit near a busy highway, a shopping center, new housing developments, and a major school. The other Another may be in a market with declining population, difficult traffic access, stronger competition, and fewer late-night customers. The first restaurant may have a line around the building. The second may struggle despite doing everything correctly. A famous brand improves the odds. It does not erase local economics. This is also why buyers should never fall in love with the sign before studying the numbers. A McDonald's restaurant can look safe because the brand is familiar, but a buyer still needs to examine sales trends, labor costs, rent obligations, equipment condition, local competition, debt structure, and projected cash flow. The best deal is not always the busiest looking restaurant. A store with huge sales but high rent, expensive labor, and major upcoming renovations may be less attractive than a slightly smaller store with stable costs and strong cash flow. Daniel eventually understands that the purchase price is only the beginning of the decision. If he invests $2 million into a restaurant, he must ask how much cash flow the business can realistically produce after all costs. If the restaurant produces $300,000 in annual cash flow before debt, that may look attractive. But if large loan payments, taxes, reinvestment, and unexpected repairs reduce what is left, the true return may be far smaller. That does not make the business bad. It simply makes it real. The strongest McDonald's franchisees usually think long-term. They do not judge the business by one busy Saturday or one strong year. They focus on operational standards, people, customer loyalty, cost control, and the ability to keep reinvesting in the business. Many eventually expand into multiple locations because scale can create advantages. They can build better management teams, share resources, train leaders internally, and spread overhead across several restaurants. But multiple locations also multiply risk. One staffing problem becomes several. One maintenance issue becomes a larger capital budget. One weak market can affect the whole operation. More restaurants can create more income. They can also create more sleepless nights. So is a McDonald's franchise worth it? For the right operator, in the right location, at the right purchase price, it can be a powerful, long-term business. The brand is proven. The systems are refined. The customer demand is real. And a well-run restaurant can generate substantial cash flow. But it is not a shortcut to wealth. It is a high-cost, high-volume operating business where the owner must control hundreds of details every week. The golden arches may attract the customer, but the owner earns the profit only by managing the gap between $4 million in sales and the much smaller number that survives after every cost is paid. That is the decision every buyer must make. Not, can I afford to own a McDonald's? But, can this specific restaurant produce enough cash flow to justify the money, the debt, and the responsibility it will demand from me? Because at McDonald's, the fries may be familiar, but the economics are anything but simple.